introduce, not Catherine yet, I'm going to introduce built. Hope that you can see this. So next Thursday night, our speaker is Linda Yates. She's the image energizer, and she's got this just for us tech moms. She's got programming a better you. So her presentation is really about crafting a professional image and finding a way to make sure that the way you're communicating yourself is accurate with where you want to be and where you want to go next in your career. And we talk about this sometimes as a personal brand, which sometimes feels a little weird to me. I'm like, I don't want a personal brand. I'm not a product, but really the image that we share out in our professional world really influences the kinds of opportunities that we have. And so this is really an important topic. She's a fantastic speaker. She speaks all over the world to really high level companies and clients. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So if you can make it next week, that'll be great. Any other announcements that I need to be making? I don't think so. Okay, so I'm going to now turn the time over to Catherine, and I'm not going to read her bio because it is in the description, and also I hate reading bios. So I'm just going to tell you that she is really amazing. We've been working with her for a little over a year now. She has launched several, more than a dozen, which is amazing, businesses of her own. She spends all of her time helping women successfully transition into successful employment. And we are so thrilled to have her here. So Catherine, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Robin. I'm glad you didn't read the bio because it's always uncomfortable to hear things about yourself. And I feel like I've been practicing this so much today, but I'm starting to lose my voice. So I'm grateful I have a familiar face with Tina because she knows some of the topic that we're going to cover tonight, and hopefully can step in and help me a little bit. Not that I'm trying to put you on the spot, Tina. So my name is Catherine. I'll share a little bit more about myself here in a couple of minutes. I love seeing so many women gravitating into tech jobs. It's a little unnerving when you're presenting and trying to navigate this technology, and all you guys are really the tech junkies behind the scenes. So hopefully I'm not the one screwing things up tonight. But I really love seeing that. I love seeing that there's so many women that are breaking out into this area and exploring all of the amazing opportunities that are out there right now, especially for us as women. Because there's so many of you, I was going to have you each introduce yourself, but maybe you can do that in the chat. And I'll try to keep track of that as I'm going along. I do want this to be as interactive as possible. I tend to teach more from a workshop perspective. I think that's how we best learn, when we're learning from one another. And then you don't have to hear me speak the whole time either. So as I'm going along, if there's something that really resonates with you, or if you have a question, or if there's something specific that you want to address, please feel free to interrupt me. I think we have a small enough group that if you take yourself off of mute, it shouldn't be too disruptive. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump right into things. See if I can get my screen share going here. Okay. Oh, hold on. Let me see what I've got going here. Hold on. Got to close everything out. There we go. Okay, and Robin, just let me know if you see the right thing here. Okay, we good? Okay, actually, let me try to move this over so I can actually see what I'm presenting here. All right, so can everybody see that okay? Awesome. And once I go into presentation mode, it's kind of hard to see me, or kind of hard to see the chat. So Robin, if you'll help moderate that for me and interrupt me if there's something that needs to be addressed, that would be amazing. Okay, so before I jump into my presentation, I just want to quickly introduce myself. It took several years for me to actually speak confidently about myself and kind of toot my own horn. And I think there's this misconception, especially with women, that when we speak that way about ourselves, that it comes across kind of braggadocious, or that we don't have a right to be that confident. And so if nothing else, I want you guys to leave today by feeling extremely confident and being able to talk about yourselves, because we have to be really good at that. It's how we get more opportunities. It's how we convince employers that we're worth investing in. It's even how we start building our own networks. And so, like I said, it's taken me several years to really get comfortable sharing some of my accomplishments. Let me see if I get back to my screen here. There we go. Okay, so this is the Catherine. 29 plus years ago, I was a teen mom. I left a very abusive marriage. I was a young single mother of 3. I had filed bankruptcy. I was working multiple part-time jobs trying to put food on the table. Lacked quite a bit of confidence, was really scared and unsure of my future. Because I was a teen mom, I'd almost been told from the very beginning that I was going to be a statistic, and things were just kind of going to be the way that life, the cards that life had dealt me. The Catherine today has paid off her debt, has reestablished credit, has bought a home, has bought a rental property. I drive my dream car. I am a successful business owner and coach, the executive director for a local nonprofit, gained confidence, proud role model for my children, and I am not afraid to fail. Those changes did not come easily, and it took years. And fortunately, I had a lot of great mentors along the way. You only have one glorious and brief shot at being you, and only you have the power to create whatever reality you desire. So why not be the biggest, happiest, most generous, and fully realized woman you can be? One of the first things we need to do in order to advance our careers is to establish self-confidence and a belief in ourselves and project what we want both personally and professionally. So I want you to make a pact with yourself right now that you are going to be your own best friend and your own advocate. And remember that circumstances do not define you. One of my favorite phrases or quotes is, "You are so much more than your last mistake." And no one is going to build the life for you that you want for yourself. I want everybody just to take a minute and close your eyes. And I know that might seem kind of like a goofy exercise when we're all in this virtual world, but I want you just to stop and close your eyes for a few minutes. And I want you to imagine what that knock it out of the park life looks like for you. What is that career that seems so incredible to you? And I want you to visualize yourself dressed for that dream job, walking through the doors of that employer. Keep your eyes closed. What is the weather like? What color are your shoes? What are smells around you? Are you feeling prepared or excited? Now I want you to open your eyes, but I don't want you to lose sight of those goals, because if you can't see it, you can't have it. How determined you are is going to determine your outcome. A habit is any behavior that you do automatically and repeatedly without thinking about it. We are usually in a reactive state. So once we become aware and consciously decide to respond, we can start changing our habits, which change our realities. So the topic tonight can be really challenging when we're talking about barriers. It's something that's still a challenge or a topic that I'm addressing with myself on an ongoing basis, and we all are doing that, hopefully. But this can be challenging. It's a very difficult and almost a very raw conversation that we're having with ourselves. And so I want you to just take a few minutes, and also hopefully you all have something to write down with and that you're taking good notes tonight. But I want you to just take a minute, and I want you to write down 3 things that you're grateful for. And if you have more, that's great, but at least 3. And the reason that I like to start with that is that I am a big believer that we come from a place of gratitude, because there's so much going on around us all the time. This last year has been so much chaos. It's hard to believe that it's already been a full year of this kind of chaos. And so to always come from a place of gratitude so that we don't get sucked into the things we don't have and we can't do and the what ifs. Our goals for tonight are to help identify what those barriers are that are holding you back, and to help learn how to develop action plans for overcoming your specific barriers and then ways to build your confidence. Until we are honest about our barriers and can think through solutions to our barriers, we're going to have a difficult time changing outcomes and reaching our definition of success. And I know that my definition of success is going to be different than yours, and each one of you, that's going to be unique and individual for each of us. But what's important is that we start to identify what that looks like for us, that we start to paint a picture and make it very visual, very real, so that we know what that end result is that we're working toward. So what is the definition of a barrier? And Mikkel, just because your face is right next to mine, I'm going to call on you.
Catherine, are you meaning to share? You're not sharing right now. I don't know if you were wanting to share.
Oh, I'm not?
No.
Oh, no. Okay, let me see if I can get back to that. Thank you. There we go. Perfect. Okay, Mikkel, I'm still going to turn this over to you. What is the definition of a barrier?
To me, it's there's something that's getting in the way of what I want.
Okay. Does anybody else have an idea, definition? Tina?
Me? Like obstacle.
Okay, an obstacle. So the definition of a barrier is a circumstance or obstacle that keeps people or things apart or prevents communication and progress, right? So in our PHP employment program, and I'll share more about what I do here later, we talk a lot about barriers throughout our workshops and our coaching sessions because barriers are always present. And hopefully we can start to identify them faster, push past them faster, and become better prepared when the next one presents itself, because it will, right? There's always going to be barriers in our lives. So then what does success require? And this is where I would love to see some interaction in the chat right now. What does success look like for you? What kind of personality traits do successful people have? And what kind of things are required in order to reach success? Does anybody have any ideas? And I know I have things up on my screen right now, but is there anything in addition to this list that you'd want to add? Not giving up, keep going. Thank you. It's a big part of success, that perseverance. Sacrifice, absolutely, Trina. Learning what to give up so that you can have something different. Lifting those around you. I love that, Mikkel. What are some personality traits of people that are successful? Focus, absolutely. I'm positive, charming. I like that, Ruth. There's definitely an element of charm for sure. So other things that I listed here are ambition, courage, right? Courage to make a change, courage to push past something. The commitment piece, the follow through, being somebody that other people can count on. Willpower, I think that's a huge part of success. Sticking with something, that willpower, and understanding why you want something to change. It's another concept that we talk a lot about in People Helping People, is really understanding our why we want something to change, why we want something to be different, why we get out of bed every single day and do what we do. Integrity, finding a mentor or an example of success, and then a desire to work and be successful. So I want you to think for a minute about that list. And I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other things that we can add to that. Can read others. Empathetic. Yes, I like that, Tiffany. But this is definitely a starting point. And these things would be necessary for success. So think about how many of these things you already have or that might still be lacking in your life. And I want you to be honest with yourself. You don't have to answer that, but to yourself. And then I want you to identify a barrier, which is the first step to overcoming it. So as we're going through this tonight, I want you to be thinking about those barriers that are holding you back from doing something different, making a change, and then how we can work through that together. Oh, don't know why my slides are not in the order that I want them. I'm going to go back the other way here. Okay. I know this isn't the ideal way to do it, Robin, but then I can see my slides a little bit better. So when we're teaching this workshop at People Helping People, we talk a lot about local services and resources that are available to all of us so that we can include them in our action plans when we're talking about barriers, on ways that we can overcome our barriers. And these are just some examples, and there's several throughout our community. Some of them might be applicable to this group or to you individually tonight, and maybe not. Maybe we know somebody that these services would be available and beneficial for. Things like 211, which also now has great technology resources for people that don't have reliable internet or computers. Salt Lake Community College for continuing education. Neighborhood Works has an amazing program to help you prepare to buy a home. AAA Fair Credit is all about budgeting and learning and understanding about your credit score. Salt Lake County Library, I think a lot of the libraries have amazing free resources that you can get additional training and certificates, just some online learning tools, legal assistance, internet resources. Of course, I listed Tech Moms tonight because what an amazing resource to learn a new marketable skill, get into an industry that is so quickly growing and creates definitely a path to self-sufficiency and some career stability for women especially. And then I had to include People Helping People, of course. Little selfless plug here. We're an employment program that offers long-term career support that helps women increase their earning potential and their workplace success. And I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other resources that you guys can think of. Understanding what resources and support systems are available to us is the first step in creating an action plan. An action plan allows someone to list clear, achievable steps to overcoming a barrier. Approaching the problem one step at a time is much easier than being overwhelmed by the entire problem because it gives us a starting point, right? We've all heard that phrase, how do you eat an elephant? You guys heard that before? I can hear Mikkel or see Mikkel's lips going. So how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? So one step at a time. So we're going to talk about creating SMART goals tonight. How many of you heard this phrase before? A few of you kind of scroll through faces tonight. So SMART goals. So SMART goals start with being specific. What is your goal? What tools do you need to achieve it? How often will you engage in the steps? Measurable. How will you get feedback on your goal? How to measure success? Attainable. Is your goal attainable with the time constraints, tools, and resources that you have? And what are the attainable steps along the way? Is your goal realistic? Is your time frame realistic? And then timely, do you have your goal broken down into timely, reasonable steps that will motivate you and not discourage you? So I've got an example here of a SMART goal, and then we're going to work on these so that you can each do this individually too. So this example is, I want to earn $35 an hour, so very specific. But how we begin is that first specific step. I want a position with a development team with a startup tech company. Measurable, I will apply to 3 positions per week. Attainable, I will acquire the training and skills needed for the job and update my resume so I can apply for 3 positions per week. Realistic, to achieve my goal, I will set aside 5 hours per week for training and job searching. And then timely, which to me is one of the biggest things that we need to incorporate when we're doing any goal setting, is we've got to set ourselves some time restraints there. When are we going to know that we've reached our goal? So in this instance, I'll attain training once a week and complete my course within 3 months. So I want you to identify one goal for yourself and write that down. And maybe you have several, but let's just focus on one tonight. Okay, has everybody thought of a goal? Writing down. And I know Tina hears me say this word all the time, but it's specific. I want you to create a very specific goal. Yes, specific is part of the SMART goals, but the goal itself needs to be really specific. Is it a certain dollar amount? Is it a specific job or career or industry or even employer that you want to work for? Is it a home in a certain area? Is it a specific car? Is it a vacation? Something like that, to get very specific with yourself. And then the next part of this is I want you to start writing down each one of these steps. And I'll pull up this example again so you can see the pattern and what should be filled in for you individually. I want you to think about, and I always use this analogy of a road trip or taking a vacation. What is the very first thing that we think of when we say, I want to take a vacation? What's the very first thing that we decide? What, Robin?
I said, where we want to go. Sorry, I couldn't find my mute.
Yes, where we want to go, right? Anytime you hear somebody say, I want to take a vacation, they're usually pretty specific with, I want sunshine, I want my toes in the sand, I want to go camping, whatever that is. We think of the end destination, right? And then, and I'm seeing all these comments and that's great, then we start to kind of back ourselves out of it and plan how we're going to get to the end destination. Some of the things you guys have said. Where I need to go. How much is it going to cost? How long is it going to take me to get there? Am I going to drive? Am I going to fly? What are my pit stops along the way? Where am I going to stop and get gas or food? What the weather's going to be like, right? Am I going to pack flip-flops or snow boots? And I know for me, especially with a road trip, who am I taking along with me for the ride? And are they going to make it enjoyable or a pain in the butt and distract me the whole way and get me off my path? And all of a sudden I end up on some other road that I wasn't intending. I use that analogy because we need to do the same things with our lives, with our careers. We need to picture ourselves in that end place, that end result. Where is it that we're wanting to go? And then we start to back ourselves out of it. How am I going to get there? It's that little bite of the elephant. What are the steps that I need to take in order to get to that end result? So take a few minutes and I want you to take that goal and start breaking it down, making it specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. And we'll only spend about 2 minutes and then we'll move on. Okay, has everybody thought of a goal? And I know when I'm setting goals, part of what helps me be accountable is when I share them with other people, when I have an accountability partner. So if it's something that you feel comfortable putting in the chat tonight, maybe you know one another and you can identify one person that you want to help you be accountable for that goal. Or if there's specific goals that you want to talk through tonight, I would love to do that. I would love for this to be very interactive. So has everybody had a chance to write down at least one goal? Okay. So if you remember a few minutes ago, I asked you to start thinking about one of your barriers, and maybe there's several, and maybe there's a couple that really stand out to you, but at least think about one barrier. What is holding you back right now from reaching your goal, that next opportunity, or from pushing you out of your comfort zone? I want you to think about the barriers in your life, and are you allowing those barriers to exist so that you can avoid trying and possibly failing? We often find comfort in our barriers because they provide excuses for us to avoid doing the thing we are most scared about. A barrier is nothing more than an excuse. So, on the coattails of writing down your goal, I want you to write down at least one barrier. What is a barrier that you have right now that's preventing you from reaching that goal? And write that down. So as you're thinking about your barriers, and that one in particular, as we're going to map out a plan and start to put together some steps to overcome it, thinking about barriers as an excuse and why it is that it's holding you back. Working on overcoming barriers is a lifelong process. I can absolutely attest to that. The idea is that your barriers today are not the same ones that you had a year ago, 2 years ago, or even 5 years ago. And if the things that are still barriers today are barriers from years ago, then you really have to be honest with yourself about why they're still lingering. Am I allowing them to be an excuse? Am I gaining something from this barrier, keeping me in a comfort zone? A lot of times your comfort zone is anything but comfortable, right? It just happens to be an environment that we know how to navigate. We know the results. We know the outcome. So to be thinking about why it is that you're allowing that barrier to stick around. So learning to develop and work on an action plan is a valuable skill that will not only help you overcome your own barriers, but will give you the tools to overcome them and the obstacles at work as well. Learning and understanding the process, trusting the process, will continue to pay off the rest of your life. Dina, since you're the next face that I can see, do you want to read just the first part of this where it says breaking through barriers?
Okay, breaking through barriers requires making changes, but no one can change for you. You must do it for yourself. No one has to do it alone. We all need support.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Dina. So I think even as women, we have this misconception that we have to do everything, that we end up being the catch-all for a lot of things, absolutely, but we feel like we have to do everything and that there's this fear of asking for help. The more we talk about the things that we're going through, especially if they're barriers that continue to be present, the more we talk about them with the people around us, chances are that even though they feel very real for us, they're not unique to us. And so to learn from one another and to understand what kind of resources and support system is out there. So when you go back to that barrier that you wrote down, think about what resources do you need? What are some possible solutions to my barrier? If you've listed more than one, which one is most realistic at this time to start working on? Who can I talk to or where can I go to get the resources or assistance that I need? And some of those I listed in a previous slide. What steps can I take to remove or resolve the barrier? I just want you to take a minute and answer that. Tricia, thank you for sharing that. My challenge is to identify if my barriers, my own limited mindset. We tend to be our own worst enemy, don't we? It's interesting how some of those innate values really carry through life and we don't even realize that we have some limiting beliefs there. Thank you for sharing that. So once we've set a goal for ourselves, we have to identify the barriers preventing us from achieving that goal and create the steps necessary to overcoming the barrier. So we're going to work on going through steps to overcome a barrier, because when we overcome the barrier, we're going to be that much closer to achieving the goal. Does anybody have, and I know Tricia, you just shared one, and thank you so much. Tina, COVID absolutely has been a challenge, right? And that's something we're all dealing with. Does anybody have anything that they want to work on collectively as a group as far as a barrier? We can go through some of the steps. I just did an example up here, but I would be happy to do this as a group. Not having a car, that's absolutely a barrier. So Tina, since you've been through this barrier workshop in a little different format with PHP, can we use you as an example tonight?
Sure, Catherine, anything for you.
Thank you. So I'll just use the barrier of not having a car, okay? So what would be the very first step for Tina so that when we have bad weather, not having a car isn't going to be the reason that she doesn't get to work or to whatever it is that she needs to do? What would be one of the very first steps you guys would think of?
even Uber does not want to show up. I'm like, okay.
Must be a gnarly weather condition if Uber's not going to show up.
Yeah, like it literally said no car is available. And I'm like, really? How can that be possible?
Okay. So Robin says learning public transportation, right? So maybe some of the options close by. So that might be one of our first steps, is to understand and know where the bus route is, where the closest pickup is, and what their schedule is.
Yeah,
Well,
but the catchword is adverse weather conditions. Sorry. When it's really dumping snow and I just don't want to walk to the bus stop. I mean, I've been taking buses, public transportation, and tracks.
Yeah.
And I mean, the weather is so bad that even Uber doesn't want to show up. And I'm like, really? So that's where it gets tricky. And I've tried to like ask and, be about ride sharing and pitching in for gas and all those. I've tried to troubleshoot it, and I've been good. I think with COVID, it got a little more, I guess not little, but a lot more trickier. And then there's the weather conditions, which has been pretty okay, I guess, for this time.
Yeah, COVID has made everything tricky, hasn't it? Especially when we think about the sharing economy and ride sharing and some of the other things that have been impacted. And clearly weather a lot of times is out of our control. But as long as we've got some other solutions in place that we're trying to exhaust before we just throw our hands up, right? Janet says, have someone on call, ask a friend in case of weather. Yeah, all good suggestions. I'm kind of scrolling through comments.
Yeah, in fact, there's an app. I don't know if anybody uses Waze. It's called WAZE. It's a Waze app, which it's the best, like GPS. I've heard a lot of people benefiting with its GPS, and it has the best GPS and navigation and whatnot. It also has carpooling option in there, and I even installed that app, and I even asked a few times, and and it takes only $2 or so.
Yeah.
And I put my starting point and ending point. I mean, I think I've kind of used all kind of, I feel like I just have tried to use all kinds of, ride sharing and apps and Uber, but it's just when it's bad, it's bad. But COVID,
these comments too, look for technology alternatives, right? Zoom meetings. I think we're all getting a little overwhelmed with Zoom all the time, but that's definitely, a aspect of our new world. So we have to learn that. Getting really good boots. Yeah, that's another good one. The example that I used up here, and if you guys have something else too, please put that in there. If there's, maybe something specific to the program that you're in right now that's holding you back, or that you're feeling might potentially present itself, then maybe we talk through that. The barrier that I put up here, because this was mine, right? And I know that I made this more tech related tonight, but this was mine. I felt like I lacked job skills. How in the world was I going to provide for my children, right? I'd been home with my kids. I had thought I'd done all the right things, but I hadn't been working. And so to re-enter the workforce after the better part of 10 years was really unnerving, to say the least. And I didn't realize that a lot of the things that I was doing every single day were actually transferable skills. Some of those things that I did every day as a mom, even volunteering in school and helping out with church and things in the neighborhood, are all valuable hard and soft skills that an employer would have found, very valuable. And so to me, my biggest barrier, I got really hung up on education. I graduated high school, but I didn't have a college degree. So how am I going to go get a great job? And I didn't feel like I had any good job skills, when in fact I did. Nobody told me that. It wasn't brought to my attention. So I think that's something that a lot of us can relate to when we feel, especially when we're trying something new and we're moving into a new industry, and maybe we're re-entering or reinventing, even rebranding ourselves right now, lacking the skills, lacking job skills, which is why this program with Tech Moms is so amazing, to be able to come in and really start from scratch and hear about all the diversity in tech. It's so much more than coding, right? I think a lot of people need to understand that, and what kind of opportunities out there, and to get that training is just an amazing opportunity. So for people that feel like they lack job skills, what would be the very first step? I know the thing I listed here was, researching training programs to prepare me for a job. Any other suggestions around that? What would be another good first step?
I think finding out, like trying to get a sense of what job you want and identifying the skills that you really need, the specific skills to get started.
Absolutely, Robin. I had that same conversation with somebody yesterday who was starting to go down a bit of a rabbit hole with, I've got some downtime, I don't know what I want to do, and so I'm going to start acquiring all these certificates and all this training. And just like you said, which I feel like you guys have somewhat gotten a little bit good at figuring out what it is you want to do because you're here in this program right now. But until then, figuring out what industry that you want to be in, what kind of jobs. For me, one of the things that's the most important is identifying the company, looking for the company that I want to work for, because every company has moving parts, all sorts of moving parts, from entry level to website to marketing to HR, right? And all of these opportunities. And most companies hire internally first and foremost. So what do I need to do to get my foot in the door? So identifying the company or the industry that I want to work for, and then figuring out what kind of skills are going to be required for that job. Kind of that road trip analogy again. What's my end destination? And then how do I back myself out of it and start figuring out the pieces in order to get there? Anybody else want to use an example of a barrier? Sarah, I love that too. Talking to people in the field you want to go into. It's a great suggestion, right? Find out what people like about what they do and they like about their job, what kind of skills that they need to have in order to do the job that they have. You might, go acquire some, amazing typing skills or some certificate that's not even applicable to the job or the company that you're wanting to work for. So really fine tuning that. Lack of time, work several jobs, not a lot of free time to commit to training and education. Okay, so are those barriers right now then, CG? Where's your face? Okay.
I can unmute myself. I just didn't know if that's best or okay.
Yeah, no, that's great. So do you want to pick one of those and we can kind of brainstorm together?
Yeah, so I'm working on my degree, my computer science degree. Because of my lack of time, I can only take like one class at a time, and it's just so exhausting. So.
Okay. So what do you feel like your barrier is right now? Is it just
it's gonna take me a long time. Like I just barely started. So I have my associate's degree. I have a long ways to go before I get my bachelor's degree, and like one class at a time. It's very hard to keep motivated during that time when you're so tired. I don't know what.
Okay, so what would everyone say to that? What would your suggestions be? Because I know we can all probably relate to when we have things that feel very insurmountable or we can't accomplish everything that we want.
If we're looking at lack of time as one of the barriers, I think a resource that we have available to us is trying to find out if there are things in our life that we can possibly like outsource to somebody else or share the responsibility to somebody else. And I know, like as a single mom, there's sometimes it feels like everything is falling on you, right? But if you can really look at your time and think, okay, are there a couple of things that I'm doing that I could possibly put onto somebody else or put on hold for a while so I can really focus on these things that are more urgent? That might be one way to approach that lack of time.
And that's what I was going to say. I was going to say, don't be afraid to ask for help. And I know that that's one of the hardest things. I completely understand that. I'm not a single mom, but I did come from a super demanding job, and then childcare and balancing everything. My husband's in law enforcement, so he has super crazy hours and getting called out all the time. So, I mean, a lot of the times I did feel like a single mom, to be honest, but I think asking for help is key.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's something I struggle with a lot. So yeah, that's something that would help.
I love that. Thank you, Katie. We all need to be better at that, right? Because it truly does take an army. It takes an absolute village to raise children, but it takes an absolute army to raise women. We need to be each other's biggest advocate and, you know, biggest cheerleaders, and to ask for help and not be afraid to do that. And I liked Robin's idea as well, you know, figuring out some things that maybe you can let go that aren't a priority, so that those other things that are a priority can be taken care of first and foremost. Does anybody
Can
want
I say something really quick about that too?
Yeah.
Yeah, so don't be afraid to say no. I know as moms, as women, we tend to say yes to everything, but it's unrealistic. And it's okay for other people to take the load, you know, whether it be volunteering in school. There will be people that will step up and do it. So it's okay to say no too. So don't do it all.
If we could put something on a bumper sticker, Tiffany, that would be it. Right? I mean, it is absolutely okay to say no. We've got to establish our own boundaries. We have to again be our own best advocate so that we can do the things that we need to. So yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to kind of scroll through some names here. Kimberly, will you read this first quote for me?
Sure. The brick walls are there for a reason. The brick walls are not there to keep us out. The brick walls are there to give us a chance to show how badly we want something. The brick walls are there to stop the people who don't want it badly enough. They're there to stop the other people.
Thank you. Callie, will you read the next one?
Being challenged in life is inevitable. Being defeated is optional.
Thank you. And Laurie, do you want to read the last one?
Okay, sorry. In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity.
Thank you. So with each obstacle that we overcome, more confidence is gained. And I know that was part of our topic tonight on how we gain confidence. The more confidence we have, the more prone we are to look for new opportunities, apply for new opportunities, and overcome those no's and the failures a little bit faster. So how do we gain confidence? And I'm just going to quickly go through these because we've just got a couple of minutes left. And so if you have any other suggestions, please let me know. The very first one that came to mind for me is getting things done, right? This comes back to how do we eat the elephant? One bite at a time. And every time we accomplish something, that sense of accomplishment adds to the confidence, gives us the confidence to try the very next thing. Small goals add up to big ones. I got in the habit years ago of just starting my day every single day by making my bed. It seems so simple. There's a whole book about it. But starting my day by just making my bed, because at least I had accomplished one thing. Not to say that maybe I didn't accomplish some other things, but I always started my day with a sense of accomplishment. So it's really amazing how that starts to add to our confidence. Monitoring your progress. So writing down your accomplishments. Grab a notebook and just carry it with you everywhere you go. Small goals start to add up. I used to have a to-do list. I now have a I did it list. That's what I do at the end of the day. I write down the things that I actually got done, right? And yes, I still have my little sticky notes all over the house, and God forbid I don't write something down and forget it when I go to the grocery store. I still have my list, don't get me wrong. But instead of doing a to-do list every day and setting myself up for a little bit of failure because I didn't get through all 20 things every single day, now I have a I did it list. And then I end my day, I go to bed feeling very accomplished. And okay, here are some things that I might have to still get done tomorrow. The next one is calling out your imposter syndrome. How many are you familiar with this term? So imposter syndrome. Oh my gosh. I feel like my whole life has been imposter syndrome, to be quite honest. I still have moments where I show up to work and I'm, barking orders at staff and answering phone calls and doing all sorts of things. And then I sit back going, what am I doing? How did I get here? Oh my gosh, I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't deserve to be here. I have all these moments of self-doubt. and you've got to be kidding me, and oh my gosh, one day they're just going to call my bluff, right? Has anybody ever felt that way? I volunteer in my child's school in 2nd grade, and I feel that way with the 8-year-olds. So yeah, Amber, right? We all have a little bit of imposter syndrome. It's actually really quite common. 70% of people have had feelings of being inadequate and getting found out at one time or another. So when that little nagging voice tells you that you're not good enough, or anything good that happens to you is just luck, like watch out, right? That's another thing that I catch myself doing, going, wow, things are really peaceful or really good right now. What's going to happen? I'm not really trusting this. Someone's going to call my bluff again. And instead of that, just acknowledging that, okay, I'm in this moment right now. I deserve to be here. I've put in the work. It's going to be okay. Really just telling that voice to shut up. So imposter syndrome is a very real thing. Being fearless. So failing is not your enemy. It's fearing the failure that is crippling, right? And we've all had those moments, and anytime we're starting something new, especially, it can be really unnerving, really scary. And I don't know if that ever really goes away and changes. But it's not so much failing, it's fearing the failure that becomes so crippling. So you really need to start thinking about what is your why. We have a whole workshop about this, understanding your why and what accomplishing your goals will do for you. And one day at a time. Back to, I think it was Katie who was talking about not having enough time. Or I remember he was saying, I don't have enough time, and I one class at a time, and this is so frustrating, and I don't even know why I'm doing this. This is one day at a time, one step at a time, one accomplishment at a time. And failing faster. I used to use this term all the time when I was doing business coaching. This is about failing faster, because we're going to have failures. The key is we fail faster, we learn from it, we brush it off, and then we get back up, because it's going to continue to happen. The next one is fake it till you make it. And I think somebody put that in the comments here a few minutes ago. I'm trying to see who that was. But fake it until you make it. How you look and behave and how you feel are closely linked. Dress like you mean success. On the days that I felt most insecure were the days I put on a pair of 5-inch heels and I spiffed it up, because I was almost trying to convince myself, right? I didn't want anyone else to know that, wow, today is not a great day. I'm not feeling it, or gosh, I don't even know what the heck I'm doing right now. So dress like you mean success. How you look, how you behave is so closely linked. And truly, fake it till you make it. That's how we push through our comfort zone, how we try something new. And then all of a sudden you start to develop this confidence without really realizing it. Asking why, right? What is causing you to not feel confident? Stop focusing on what you don't know or can't do, but what you do know and can do. And making a list of that. This is kind of that positive affirmation. If we sit around waiting for other people to toot our own horn, it may never happen. So write those things down and say it to yourself, even out loud, even if it sounds goofy, right? So focusing on the things that you can do. Really get honest with yourself on, why am I not feeling confident right now? The next one is visualizing your success. If you remember that exercise right in the very beginning when I asked you to close your eyes, right? You have got to picture it. You have got to visualize what success or how things are going to look different. If you can't see it, you're not going to achieve it. And you've got to constantly replay it in your mind so that it stays front and center. So on those moments where you think, I am not showing up for my Tech Moms class today, or I'm not showing up for A, B, and C, or I don't even want to get out of bed. You think about, oh, wait a minute, why am I doing something? This is my end result. I can't lose sight of that. And then be okay with not being okay. Oh my gosh, you guys, like, life sucks so much this last year. We can't even sugarcoat it. And right when we think we are getting this, moment of peace, bam, something else happens. Hopefully this next coming year, it's going to not be as much of that, fingers crossed, right? But we've got to be okay with not being okay. We're going to have those moments. Oh my gosh. And I think Tiffany, or I think it was you that said, just say no. We do not have to do everything. We shouldn't be doing everything, because the more we're doing for everybody else, the less we're doing for ourselves. And there is a reason that they tell us to put our mask on first when we're on the airplane. We have absolutely got to take care of ourselves. At some point, the kids grow up, life moves on, people move on, and then we're the ones left standing here. So what are we going to do for ourselves? Allow yourself that space and the grace to just not be okay sometimes. It truly is okay. And then I love this too. You can have your excuses or you can have success, but you cannot have both. I actually have this posted in my office. You can have your excuses or you can have success. I can lose the 20 pounds or I can eat the chocolate cake, right? So you can't have both. So no excuses. Figure out what it is that you want, set those goals, write them down, put them somewhere that you can see them. Be very honest with yourself about what those barriers are that are preventing you from getting there. Is it transportation? Is it childcare? Is it a support system around you? Is it skill set or even the confidence piece? Start doing some of these little things every single day to build the confidence so that you have the confidence to push through the barriers, which are ultimately going to be how you get to that goal, right? I love that, Trina. A goal is only a wish until you write it down. I've got vision boards all over my office for different aspects of my life so that I can look up and go, oh yeah, that's why I'm doing this. Oh yeah, that's why I've been in this chair for 14 hours or why I've done A, B, and C. So please get really specific and really honest with yourself. The last thing I'm going to say, because I know we're right at 8 o'clock, about confident women. They don't compare themselves with other people. They don't insist on perfection. They don't see vulnerability as a weakness. They don't let self-doubt stop them from reaching their goals. They don't overthink everything. Boy, that's a big one for me. Don't shy away from tough challenges. Don't fear breaking the rules, questioning. Don't put others down to lift. Don't put others down to lift yourself up. Don't allow others to limit your potential. Don't blame others. Take responsibility. It is only you. You need to take responsibility. Don't stay silent. Don't hesitate to reinvent yourself. I am a testament to that. I have reinvented and rebranded myself more times than I have children. and I can tell you right now that there are phenomenal opportunities out there. Kudos to all of you for getting out of your comfort zone, doing something like this tech program. My gosh, I wish something like this had been around for 20 years ago. There are so many opportunities. And this is an amazing time because so many employers have been forced into this flexible workforce for women to come in and really shine. There are so many opportunities out there for you right now, for all of us right now. So the last thing I'm just going to say a little bit about people helping people. We are a local grassroots nonprofit. I have the honor of being the executive director for this amazing organization. I've been with PHP about 4.5 years now. I actually started out as a volunteer. We work very closely with women all along the Wasatch Front, from Ogden all the way to Utah County, helping them navigate the world of work, understanding the tools to create employment success for themselves, overcoming the barriers, and really truly learning how to increase your earning potential, how to make money, how to be self-sufficient, and how to create a career for yourself. It is an amazing program. I see how it changes lives every single day and feel very fortunate that I'm a part of that. I put my LinkedIn there. I would love to connect with you guys, and so I can send that to Robin as well. But I know I'm right at time, so does anybody have any questions?
Catherine, is it possible that we could have a PDF of your slides so women could pull some of these great quotes and other things? Is that possible?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. If you can get those to me, I'll share them.
Yep, you bet. Thank you guys so much for spending a Thursday night with me. I know it's late after probably a long day, and I wish you guys the very best of luck. This is such a cool program. So thanks for including me tonight, Robin.
Catherine, thank you so much, everybody. We can do our silent applause. I love to clap on Zoom because it's quiet, right? Catherine, thank you so much. You can tell from the interaction in the chat and things like that these were messages that we needed to hear. And so thank you so much. I want to apologize. We had some Zoom issues from Eventbrite. So for those of you who are in another room, that was my fault. I apologize. And I'm grateful that you made it eventually. We will have the whole thing recorded, and we will send you a link so you can catch the beginning